What's going on, everybody? Just firing this link off to my Discord, folks. Discord's got a lot of updates to work its way through, and then we can kick things off for today. Now that the NFL draft has happened, the dust has settled. We know the landing spots. There's no real speculation needed anymore. As far as, draft capital, what type of room is a player joining, as far as the depth that is already entrenched and the competition that they're going to have as far as opportunities. We can get into some true rookie rankings, talk a little bit about the different landing spots today. As folks in Dynasty leagues are in all likelihood having their rookie draft. You may not have had it by now. Some folks have already held their rookie drafts, but many of them are this week, maybe this weekend or next weekend. So right now's the time to sort things out. What's your draft position? What do you need for your Dynasty team? What type of pieces are you looking to add? Need versus opportunity versus your own personal draft capital. So we can get into all of that today. We'll take some stock on the rookies as a result of the NFL draft. And ultimately maybe try to take a stab at what do you do in your rookie draft? What do you look to accomplish once you are officially on the clock? Just get this link sent off to my Discord, folks. I did fire off or pick up a mock draft that will be on Sleeper, so I will kick this off whenever. If folks want to join, I posted the invite link as the top comment in the chat, so you are free to join the rookie mock draft if you would like to. It is super flex. I believe it is half PPR. It's just a mock. So regardless of what the actual scoring is, it is, the most important thing is the ADP will flow based on current Superflex ADP. Okay. All right. Discord link sent. Okay. So that's all well and good. So we are starting to see, it took a little while for Sleeper to actually update their ADP. But it's finally starting to reflect a little bit better now than what it was in previous weeks leading up to the draft, when it was purely, speculation. We were seeing Shedeur Sanders in the top 7 or 8 as far as Sleeper ADP. That's probably not going to happen anymore after he slid all the way to the 5th round. And whereas, we're seeing Travis Hunter, his ADP has been pushed up after not only was he drafted 2nd overall, but the Jaguars aggressively made a trade up to go and get him. So I think drafters are feeling a little bit more confident about Hunter, whereas going into the combine and all of the offseason stuff, every report into trying to figure out what type of role he was ultimately destined for, if he was going to primarily be a defensive back, if he was going to primarily be a wide receiver. And while we do expect him to play both, he landed in a spot where, one, it's a more stable offense, most likely, than the landing spot that would have been the case had the team with the number 2 pick, the Cleveland Browns, stayed put and just made the pick. For all of Trevor Lawrence's shortcomings to this point in his career, he's a better quarterback than anybody the Browns have. And Travis Hunter won't have to step in and be a number 1 wide receiver right away, because he'll have Brian Thomas to kind of take that pressure off. So he should be in some favorable situations when the Jaguars put him out there on the field on offense. And their management, including Liam Cohen, their new head coach, has come out and said that he's primarily going to start on offense. He's going to play more of his snaps, at least in the beginning of his career, on offense, and he'll kind of learn the defense as he goes. What's going on, Theo? Good to see you, man. Thanks for popping in. So Hunter's stock is up, right? He landed in a better offense than he would have had Cleveland just stayed put and taken him at number 2 overall. And the Jags brass basically said, yeah, he's going to play offense to start primarily. You know, they'll mix him in on defense as he learns the defense, but they want to get him on, at least a strong package at minimum on offense to kick off his NFL career. And again, in this offense, we feel a little bit better about his opportunity to produce some solid numbers right away. And so therefore we've now seen, we went from, do we pick him 7th or 8th or 9th in our rookie draft? Is he just not a first round pick in our rookie draft entirely? Is he just basically, are we lighting a pick on fire by taking him because he's so volatile, because of what his potential role is in the future, we see people taking him as high as 2 or 3 overall, even in Superflex drafts. So stock is certainly up for Travis Hunter. And I'm happy to get into, where I would specifically chart him. I'd probably put him, if I have the 2nd overall pick. First, obviously the 1st overall pick is Ashton Ginty in your rookie drafts. That has been the case basically since the end of the college football season. And honestly, probably even before the college football playoff was over. Ginty had done enough at that point to warrant the 101 even in Superflex formats, and that's kind of consensus. If you have the 1st overall pick in your draft, there's not really any other way to go. I don't care how dire your situation is at quarterback. I don't care how dire your situation is at wide receiver. The value is Ashton Ginty. Take him at 1st overall and just keep it moving. The draft starts at the 2nd overall pick. Most people are probably going to take Omarion Hampton. Charger selection in the late 20s of the 1st round. Big back, has some question marks about his ability to be a 3-down back in the NFL. Does Hampton? And with Najee Harris being there, probably caps him a little bit, at least at first. But the Chargers thought enough of him to make him the 22nd overall pick. 1st round draft capital when it comes to a running back is 1st round draft capital. No matter how you slice it, and no matter how many ways you want to pick apart a prospect and look at the green flags versus the red flags. And Hampton's, the question is, can he be a consistent 3-down back? And at the NFL level? That is the question. But he's certainly, he looks the part, right? He's 6 feet tall, 220 pounds. He is a stocky guy. He's a stocky back. So workload shouldn't be an issue. It's just a matter of, can he do all of the other little things that warrant putting him on the field for all 3 downs. But a 4.46 40 in the draft. His speed score is very good. Put up some really strong numbers this past year at North Carolina, obviously. Otherwise, he wouldn't be a first-round pick. He probably goes as the consensus 102. But that is where the draft kind of, like I said, it starts. And if you have concerns or questions about Hampton and his usage at the NFL level, it's not out of the realm of possibility. One, you could take Cam Ward. You could just go chalk and take the quarterback, take the safe play, first overall pick in the draft. A decent organization in the Titans. They have a strong wide receiver 1 in Calvin Ridley. And obviously with the first overall draft capital, Ward has some stability as far as a long leash in the NFL for, let's say, 4 or 5 seasons, which is enough time in dynasty leagues to, if he's your QB2 in Superflex, maybe you're not feeling great about that. But if he's your QB3, I would say you're probably feeling pretty good about your quarterback room. He probably slots in as probably around the QB 15 in Dynasty, and that's just based on the merit of being the first overall pick and therefore having currently a long leash at the NFL level. But he's never stepped foot on an NFL field in an NFL game, so we all know that it's a crapshoot. Certainly a lot of baked-in risk, but he's at this current moment in time, Cam Ward is decently safe prospect. You could go him second overall, especially in Superflex leagues, not one quarterback drafts, but in Superflex leagues, you can certainly take him second overall. But if you're feeling good about your quarterback room and you have questions about Amarian Hampton and his ability to hold up at the NFL level as far as being a 3-down back, therefore warranting such high draft capital in your rookie draft, at this point, you can go Travis Hunter. You can take him second overall. This has been the story, the conversation of the offseason is like, what is the risk? Like, what is the risk mitigation of taking Travis Hunter second overall versus, holding out hope and waiting until the end of the first round to draft him? That's probably out the window. I don't think Hunter is going to, in most leagues, slide past, say, the 5th or 6th pick. And there's going to be some leagues where everybody's concerned about him, right? There are going to be some leagues out there, some serious, legitimate leagues where you're going to have every manager in the top 5 or 6 picks. That just so happened to be in lockstep on concerns about Hunter and, the fact that he's not probably going to be a full-time wide receiver. He has increased injury concerns because he's going to be playing both sides of the ball. And what if he ultimately ends up playing more defensive back over the course of his career than wide receiver? You're going to have people that have those concerns, and therefore you're going to see Hunter slide to 6, maybe 7 in some rookie drafts. At this point, though, he's the upside pick of the draft. Travis Hunter is the upside play of your rookie draft in your Dynasty League. He's a superstar talent, potentially anyway. High-end prospect, elite player. He's not a full-time wide receiver, otherwise he would definitively be the 102 behind Ginty. I think the upside here is warranted enough, though, where you can take Travis Hunter at the 102 and swing for the fences. That's what it's all about, right? That's what fantasy is all about. Swing for the fences, shoot for the upside, because we can play this game forever. Like, wow, well, what if he doesn't pan out? What if he's not worth the draft capital because he's not a full-time wide receiver? What if he is? What if he's the next, what if he's the next all-pro, wide receiver, defensive back hybrid and changes the game? What if Travis Hunter changes the game just to spin the conversation and the questions and concerns on its head? Instead of like, well, what if he doesn't pan out because he's not playing wide receiver full time? What if he's only on the field to catch the football because the Jaguars are saying, screw this, we didn't draft this guy number 2 overall to be in to block. We're going to put him in there on offense to catch the ball. And what if he pans out and becomes a perennial All-Pro? What if that happens? Then you're going to wish that you drafted him 2nd overall in Dynasty. So I think you can take him as high as 2 overall. So the conversation is basically Hunter versus Hampton versus Cam Ward for picks 2 through 4. But those, I think, in my mind, should be the top 4 picks in some order in your Dynasty rookie draft. Cam will fall to probably, 7, 8, 9 range in one quarterback leagues. But in Superflex leagues, he's a top 4 pick. But it should go Genty 1, and then 2, 3, 4, in my opinion, should be some combination of Hampton, Ward, and Travis Hunter. And at this point, for me personally, I'm leaning Hunter over both of those other guys because I want to swing for the upside. Like, I get it. He's going to play defensive back. His risk injury is higher because he's going to be on the field a lot more than his peers playing both sides of the ball. But he's already accomplished something that very few have done before him. So, like, the other side of that coin is, do I want to bet against the potential for greatness? And the answer to that is no, I do not want to bet against that. So I would put Hunter probably 2. I'll put Hampton 3. Even in Superflex. Again, I know Cam Ward is the 101 in the NFL draft, and the importance of quarterback cannot be understated. But Hampton, whether or not he works out as a 3-down back, he should get every opportunity. Getting drafted by Jim Harbaugh, getting drafted behind that good Chargers offensive line in a good offense with Justin Herbert at the helm, and an incumbent there in Najee Harris that will be a contributor at least early in the season, but it wouldn't be surprising to see Hampton kind of overtake Najee over the course of the year. Say, we always play this game by the Chargers bye week, right? If assuming it's around the middle of the season, if it's not too early, the first round draft capital. This isn't a 3rd round running back that we can sit here and speculate. When is he going to get his shot? When is he going to get his opportunity? You don't draft a running back in the 1st round to not utilize him, and utilize him to the tune of, we got to be talking about 250 touches, even with Najee Harris there. So I would imagine Hampton should be able to put up an RB2 finish for fantasy purposes in his rookie year, assuming he's splitting time in some way, shape, or form with Najee Harris. So I'd put him at 3. I put Ward at 4. If you are a QB needy team, Ward at 3 or even as high as 2 is fine in your rookie draft. Tet McMillan, I guess, would go 5th, generally speaking. Tet is a pretty polarizing prospect. There are some people who are big-time believers. There are some people who are just flat out on him. So Tet is truly personal preference. The draft capital and the landing spot are both good. 8th overall selection to the Carolina Panthers, gets to, immediately goes in as the X receiver for Carolina. He is probably their best player at wide receiver, from the jump, with all due respect to Xavier Legette. Tet probably slides in as their X receiver right away, as the 8th overall selection, and gets to play with an ascending Bryce Young, who looked like he had resurrected his career a little bit in the final 10 weeks or so of the 2024 season. So the vibes are pretty good about Bryce Young right now, and Tet has a little bit something to say about that now after having been selected by the Panthers 8th overall. So Tet, I think, is a rock solid, 5th. I think he should go 5th, maybe 6th, depending on, again, your scoring and if you're somebody who's maybe not necessarily in on Tet. I think he's fine at 5. I also have my questions. It's well known at this point. Maybe if you haven't been keeping up regularly with the NFL offseason, maybe it's not well known. So just to reiterate, Tet McMillan is on record having said that he doesn't really like to watch film. It's not something that he really does. And obviously the notion here being that he's just always, for the entirety of his life thus far, anytime he's stepped on a football field, he's bigger, faster, stronger than everybody else that he's going up against. That's not going to be the case in the NFL, as we all know. So it's anybody's guess whether his stance on watching film changes, if his attitude toward watching film changes. If it does, you can feel pretty good about a top 10 overall pick at wide receiver, putting up some pretty good numbers. And he should be able to do that on the back of his talent alone. He's a big-bodied receiver. He's a possession guy. The most regular comp is Drake London. So big body. Drake London is the better prospect than Tet, but they were both drafted 8th overall. So they both have similar draft capital. So Tet at 5 in your rookie draft is fine. I'll go over a few more prospects. And then again, I do have on the screen, I do have a rookie mock draft set up. So if anybody wants to join that, the invite is starred in the chat, and I can kick it off if one or two more folks join. If not, that's okay. I'll go through a few more rankings. I'll go through a few more rankings of the first round, and then I can kick it off. But feel free to join in the next, let's just say 5-10 minutes. I don't have a specific timestamp on anything, but if you would like to join a rookie mock draft, the link is in the chat. After the 5th pick, it gets interesting. It gets even more interesting as far as where do you go? Who do you select? Who do you select in your rookie draft? You've got a lot of people are bullish. A lot of people are bullish on Travion Henderson. Second round pick to the New England Patriots. A lot of people are bullish on Quinshon Judkins, who went just a few picks earlier to the Cleveland Browns. Emeka Egbuka, first round pick, but a crowded landing spot to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's going to be working behind Mike Evans and Chris Godwin for a little while, at least 1 year. And then however, does he automatically leapfrog Jalen McMillan on the depth chart? So, what do you do with him? Luther Burden was originally being looked at as a first-round pick in your rookie drafts, but he slid to the second round of the NFL draft and went to a Bears team that is, again, it's a pretty crowded group of weapons. DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, the 9th overall pick last year. They drafted Colston Loveland, a tight end, 10th overall this year. And they still have Cole Kmet. So, where does Luther Burden slot in that hierarchy? So there's questions about what do we do with Luther Burden. I just mentioned Colston Loveland. He now probably sees his stock go up. He was the 10th overall selection to a Ben Johnson offense, where we just saw 2 pretty good years from their starting tight end, a young tight end in Sam Laporta, one in which his rookie year he was the tight end 1 overall for fantasy. Saw a dip this past year, but was still decently productive. So, what do you do with Colston Loveland? Caleb Johnson, a polarizing prospect, ended up in a great landing spot with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike Tomlin went on record saying, he's a guy who deserves volume. Caleb Johnson, I'm paraphrasing his words, but he essentially said Caleb Johnson needs to be getting the ball, needs to get the rock. And in a Pittsburgh Steelers offense that traditionally likes to give the ball to just one guy, or predominantly one guy, Caleb Johnson's stock is up. Depending on how you feel about that, about him and his landing spot working next to Jaylen Warren, and of course a Steelers offense that has a million question marks about who's the quarterback going to be. And then there's RJ Harvey, right? The one, the player who probably saw his stock skyrocket the highest. Whether or not that's warranted is another question. Second round selection, day 2 selection by the Denver Broncos. The Broncos backfield was one that was being heavily monitored by Dynasty pundits. What running back would ultimately land there, because, Sean Payton is an offensive guru that traditionally gets a lot from the running back position for fantasy purposes, and they had a gaping hole in their backfield. Javonte Williams is gone and was relatively uninspiring the past couple of years. They had guys like Jaleel McLaughlin. They drafted Sir Aldrick Estime last year, and they're clearly not, ready to move forward with like a McLaughlin Estime combo at running back. So they dipped in to this, in day 2, grabbed RJ Harvey. Isn't without his warts, isn't without his red flags, but they felt strongly enough to invest pretty decent draft capital in him and presumably make him the guy in their backfield. The numbers are pretty intriguing, right? He ran a 4.4 40. He's only 5'8", 205 pounds, so he's not gonna be, in all likelihood, he could, but in all likelihood, he's not going to be a consistent, regular 3-down back. He may not hold up at the NFL level, week to week, game to game, getting a full workload. But he's certainly going to get a chance to contribute as a de facto starter, given the competition in the Broncos backfield and the draft capital that they invested in him. So do you take him in the first round of your rookie draft? Opportunity has come knocking for RJ Harvey. So, he could be a good target in the back half of the first round, depending on the way your draft falls. Maybe you play tight end premium. So Colston Loveland and Tyler Warren both go ahead of him. And then in that case, if you're getting RJ Harvey, you can take a shot on him, say at the 110, the 111, the 112. You might be feeling okay about that. And then speaking of Tyler Warren, was being projected by many to be the top tight end off the board. That was Loveland. Warren didn't go too much farther. He didn't last too much farther on the board. He went 14th, 15th overall to the New York Jets, who have nothing at tight end. So he should slot in, because Ty Conklin did he go to the Chargers? I think Ty Conklin went to the Chargers. So the opportunity is there for Tyler Warren to take over as the Jet starter right away. His landing spot is not as enticing as Loveland's, though. Caleb Williams versus Justin Fields, for all of the, criticisms and concerns that we have about Caleb after kind of a rocky rookie year. I'll take Caleb Williams over Justin Fields at the very least, as far as who I believe in as a thrower of the football. So tight end premium, both guys are first round picks. if you don't play tight end premium, you're probably looking at late first, early second round for both of those guys. So, that's where it comes down to your scoring format. Do you play tight end premium? Then you should draft one of those two guys probably by the back half of the first round, like say the 107, 108, could be even a little higher. If you have a need at tight end, maybe you have Caleb Williams. And if you have like the 10, maybe you have Caleb Williams, you play tight end premium and you could use a tight end. Colson Loveland, I don't think is a reach at the 106 or so, 106, 107. And then Tyler Warren, again, tight end premium, say maybe, just a couple picks later, especially if you could use some dart throws at tight end. Not that Tyler Warren is a dart throw, but his situation is a little less enticing than we would have maybe hoped for going to the Jets with, Justin Fields, who showed some decent, had some decent performances with the Pittsburgh Steelers last year before they ultimately pivoted to Russell Wilson after Russ was healthy. Fields is still, a questionable passer at the NFL level. So, depends on how much you believe in the prospect at that point, the player. So the first round is it's kind of all over the place. It all depends on your scoring format. And then, of course, I guess, we'll finish it off with Jackson Dart, who ended up being the other quarterback drafted in the first round. The Giants moved up in the draft to get him. His competition is Russell Wilson, who at this point is way, way closer to the end of his career than he is to the beginning of it, and Jameis Winston, who at this point in his career is a backup. So that could be a situation where maybe Russ starts for a few games to start the season, and before they turn to Dart. I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants were smart. I would say start Dart week 1 if he is showing, that he can at least competently handle, his responsibilities as a quarterback. And if you're willing to take your lumps and growing pains. The problem is the Giants maintained Brian Daboll after a year where he easily could have been fired. So, the Giants' current structure of their coaching staff and their front office is in like job-saving mode. So do they do the right thing and play the rookie sooner than later and let him take his lumps and let him develop real time? Or do they roll Russell Wilson out there for the first half of the season and try to stay afloat and stay competitive? And they'll tout it as we're doing it what's in the best interests of the team for the year 2025. But the Giants aren't going to be competitive in all likelihood in 2025. So, what's the point other than, you, Brian Daboll, just trying to save your job? So that is kind of murky. Obviously, for Dynasty purposes, we're not worried about just one season. We're worried about the long haul. So Dart remains valuable from that perspective and should probably be a back half first round pick in your rookie draft. But it will be a bit of a question mark as to whether, how much playing time will he get in his rookie season. So all in all, and what's going on, Crumbly Heads? Good to see you. Thanks for joining the draft. I will kick the rookie mock draft off here in another 5 minutes or so. Again, if anybody would like to join the draft on Sleeper, I have the link. It is starred. First comment posted in the chat room if you would like to pop in and make some mock picks. The way I would tier it, ultimately, before we kick things off, Genty is in his own tier. If you have the 101, congratulations. I don't care what your roster structure looks like. I don't care if you have an abundance of running backs and you're weak at quarterback or you're weak at wide receiver or you're weak at tight end. Take Genty 101. Take Genty 101. That's the value. Deal with the fallout later if you have too many running backs and not enough talent elsewhere. Don't overthink it. Take the best player. Genty is in a tier unto himself. He was the 6th overall pick as a running back to a team that didn't have a running back. prior in the Raiders. He's the 101. Then there's another tier that I would lump the next probably 3 guys in. I'll say 4. I'll include Tet in the second tier. The second tier is, again, I'm doing super flex tiers. We can adjust if you have any specific questions about one quarterback. But the second tier would be, for me, Travis Hunter, Cam Ward, Amarian Hampton, and Tet McMillan. I definitively have Tet 4th in that group. I have some concerns about him. The whole not watching film and just being a big, he's a big body receiver. He's getting comps to Drake London. Nothing wrong with that. Drake London looks like a big time, rock solid, not just a fantasy asset, but he's a wide receiver 1 in the NFL. He's earned that. Especially given the numbers that he has put up with the quarterback play that he has had to deal with early in his career. Tet can look at Drake London's trajectory as something to hang his hat on, and he's going to get good quarterback play in Bryce Young. I do just have questions about, is he going to dedicate himself to the work? Is he going to put the work in from a film watching perspective, which he is on record saying that he's not a fan of really doing? And, there's always questions about, the receivers with the contested catch rate. When you have a high contested catch rate in college, that generally correlates to you might be struggling to separate from defensive backs. It's easier to get away with that in college when you're just bigger and stronger than everybody else, but that's not going to rock in the NFL. That's not going to fly. So Tet, for me, in the second tier is definitively 4th of the 4 guys I have in tier 2. But at 105, I think that is far enough for him to fall before you just go ahead and say top 10 draft pick in the NFL, going to a good situation where he's the clear number 1, and an ascending quarterback that we feel good about after the last 10 to 12 weeks of the season, after watching Bryce Young presumably bounce back after a rough rookie year and a rough start to the 2024 season. So for me, I would go, again, depending on team need, but in a vacuum, I'm swinging for the fences in tier 2 and taking Travis Hunter. Then I would go Amarian Hampton, and then I would go Cam Ward. Cam can be moved up a tier or moved up a spot or 2 within the second tier if you are quarterback needy in Superflex. It is never a bad idea to just go ahead and take a shot on a quarterback when you are in a situation where you don't have to reach to take that quarterback. 101 is a reach. Even if you have it in this scenario, in these circumstances, even if you have a need at quarterback, I think the consensus, it's fair enough to say taking Ward 101 would be a reach over Genty. Like, if you need Ward and you have the 101, trade out of the 101. Pick up an extra asset. But I would go Hunter, then Hampton, then Ward, and then Tet. After that, the next tier is a little difficult to project out. It depends on a combination of things. Now you can kind of start looking a little bit more at your own personal team need, and then obviously your league's scoring. Do you need a running back? Maybe take a shot on Travion Henderson, who is a kind of a darling of a lot of fantasy analysts and draft pundits, even though he fell to the second round to a bit of a crowded backfield in New England. But an ascending situation because we feel good about Drake May at quarterback up there. Quinshon Judkins, not a great offense in Cleveland. We don't know who the quarterback's going to be. We don't know if that offense is going to be able to successfully, regularly sustain drives, but Judkins is going to get a lot of opportunity, a lot of volume. So if you want to bank on that, and you're just, you're kind of just hoping that maybe by 2026, the Browns get a quarterback situation figured out. We'll see. You could go Judkins, even though their offense is a little concerning. You could go Emeka Egbuka and play the long game. Well, Mike Evans is going to be a free agent for the Bucs after this year. Yes, they signed Chris Godwin to a 3-year deal, but he just suffered a pretty nasty ankle injury this past season. So is he going to round back into form 100%? We hope so for Chris Godwin's sake, but we don't know. And then they still have Jalen McMillan there. So how does that shake out? Do I just trust Igbokwe, who has always looked like an NFL caliber talent while at Ohio State, if not their most? He might not be their most talented prospect to come out of the wide receiver position in recent years for Ohio State, but he looks like he's going to play the part of like just a rock solid regular contributor for an NFL team. Probably will be a team's wide receiver 2 for a lot of his career. I do not know that he ascends to be a team's wide receiver 1, but he has shown enough where he's going to be a very good NFL player, a rock solid contributor. He's going to give a team good production. Obviously, it's going to be the Bucs. We'll see if it's the Bucs the entirety of his career, but I would think he's got a strong wide receiver 2 for his team potential for the rest of his career, and you can bank on some stability with there. If you play tight end premium, I would move the tight ends up to the 107, like somewhere in the 107 to 110 range. If you don't play tight end premium, then Colston Loveland is probably like a late first round pick, and Tyler Warren might be, last couple picks of the first round, maybe the first or second pick of the second round, second or third pick of the second round at the latest. The draft capital is really good for both of those guys, so we don't want to totally diminish them in non-tight end premium scoring, but there are some intriguing running backs that folks are probably going to be excited at the opportunity to add to their squad if they don't have tight end premium scoring. If you do have tight end premium scoring, both Loveland and Warren should be first-round picks. And if you have Caleb Williams and you're in a spot to maybe you have the 106 or the 107, in tight end premium scoring, I would be okay with stacking up Colston Loveland in that spot. And then, the 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 range. I guess Henderson, Judkins are in that 106, 107 area. If you have tight end premium, maybe Henderson and Judkins are in the 108 area. And then from 109 to 112, probably some combination of Igbokwe, RJ Harvey. His stock is through the roof because he was drafted by the Denver Broncos with a day 2 pick. Jackson Dart in Superflex leagues. And then I didn't even mention Matthew Golden yet, the Packers' first-round pick at wide receiver. They finally invested a first-round pick in wide receiver. He's in play at the back half of the first round, assuming, they have Jaden Reed. They've got some intriguing weapons, Romeo Doubs. We'll see if Tucker Kraft can follow up a strong season at tight end with another good year. But Matthew Golden, presumably kicks guys like Christian Watson and Dontavian Wicks to the curb, but they selected him in the first round. There have been question marks about Green Bay's wide receiver core all offseason and whether or not they have a legit number 1 guy. Matthew Golden is their latest attempt, clearly, at trying to answer that question. So he's in the back half of the first round in your rookie draft as well. He's in consideration anyway. All right. I've blabbered on enough. If anybody has any other questions, I'm happy to take them. If you have a specific situation that you are trying to sort out for your rookie draft, we can get into that. But for now, again, one last time, at the very top of the live stream chat, I posted an invite to this mock draft that I am about to kick off here shortly. If you would like to join, you obviously are going to need a sleeper ID to be able to access this. But we will kick off a Superflex rookie mock draft. Picks 1, 2, 6, and 12 are taken. I grabbed the 12 spot. And I believe I did it, right? It's just a linear draft. So, like the NFL draft, it's not a snake draft like your typical redraft. So, in the next minute, I will kick this off. We'll do 4 rounds. That's pretty standard. So after the 412, after I make pick 412, I will end it there, and we can go over the board. Okay. Let's kick this thing off. Superflex Dynasty rookie mock begins now. Genty's chalk. That makes sense. There's no reason the other way. All right. And that order goes exactly that. Those next few guys, they go in the order exactly as I would have them. I like Hunter. I like the swing for the fences for Hunter at 102. I don't mind that one bit. Hampton at 103, perfectly fine with that. Cam Ward at that point probably becomes a bit of a value at the 104. And then Ted McMillan at the 105. That makes sense. All right. I am up at the 112. So, and I have 2 minutes here, so I'll take the whole 2 minutes just to talk. Not too many surprises here. Henderson, 106. He is well-liked in the fantasy community. There's a lot of questions in the Patriots backfield about the future of Ramondre Stevenson. Antonio Gibson has kind of proven that he's a depth guy at best and probably not even that. So Henderson has a prime opportunity on an offense where they don't really have any proven pass catchers yet outside of an aging Stephon Diggs. Henderson should get a lot of opportunities to be that explosive playmaker out of the backfield for an ascending Patriots offense. Judkins gets the opportunity to take the lion's share of volume in a Browns offense that wants to run the football. Warren and Loveland. This is, I wouldn't be surprised if these were flip-flopped in a real draft where Loveland goes 108 and Warren goes 111. That's just ADP that hasn't quite corrected yet since Loveland went 10th overall to a better situation than Warren. Egbuka taking, first round wide receiver to a good landing spot, even though it's one that you might have to wait a year or two, probably one. And then Caleb Johnson, an interesting guy that ends up in the Steelers backfield. Lots of volume potentially coming his way. So with about 35-ish seconds coming up for me, it's probably between guys like Jackson Dart and RJ Harvey. My thought process here is someone's going to probably get a nice value in RJ Harvey at the 201 or the 202. It's super flex, and it was a quarterback that was drafted in the first round. It just makes sense to take dart throws, to take shots at quarterback in super flex. First round versus a guy who kind of shot up the draft simply because of the landing spot. Not necessarily a guaranteed day 2 pick. So I'm going to go ahead and take the quarterback and leave a nice little present in RJ Harvey or Matthew Golden, depending on what you are interested in or what you could use. And I'll hope that I get a position player. Later on. Dart should have a 4 or 5 year leash, at least in the NFL. Being a first round pick, he should get every opportunity with the Giants, whether it's with Brian Daboll as his coach or somebody else next year. So there is some concern there about stability. If you're worried about stability with Jackson Dart, do the Giants fire Daboll next year and move on to another coach who then inherits Dart instead of having selected him himself? Some of these ADPs haven't quite updated yet. So like Cam Scatterbo should not be going this high in all likelihood as a 4th round pick. But, this is just fun practice. But Harvey at the 201, I think makes a lot of sense. Matthew Golden is a nice value at 202, being a first round rookie wide receiver. Luther Burden is interesting. Goes to the Bears. He's going to be behind. He's going to be behind DJ Moore and Rome Odunze, and he may not be behind Colston Loveland, but Colston Loveland was the 10th overall pick in the draft, whereas Burden was a day 2 pick. So a lot of mouths to feed in that offense. He's an enticing prospect. He's an enticing prospect. However, he's got a bit of a hill to climb as far as the depth chart. Let's see. Jaden Higgins to Houston, day 2 pick. That makes sense. Scatterbo, auto rookie pick, or auto computer pick. He shouldn't go that high. He was a day 3 pick, 4th round to the Giants. Not a bad landing spot, but not worthy of the 205 having been a day 3 pick. The Trey Harris pick makes a lot of sense. He might start much sooner than later for the Chargers. They invested good capital in him. They don't really have anything super impressive on the boundary on the outside at wide receiver. They need somebody to take the pressure off of Ladd McConkey. Quentin Johnston is probably an inconsistent guy at this point in his career. Maybe the addition of Trey Harris helps him a little bit. I like that one. I like that grab. Beck, other good day 2 capital. Solid play. Jalen Milroe, again, a CPU pick, but a quarterback in Superflex. There's questions about what he's actually going to pan out to be at the NFL level, but I don't mind the dart throw. Bashal Tutin, I can get into him a little bit. Taylor goes to the Jets. There's no way I would. He's the one who went to the Jets. Excuse me. He went to the. I'm thinking of the Jets, and I messed up Warren to the Colts. Excuse me, a little earlier. There's another tight end that I would rather have, and it's this guy. And I'm gonna go ahead and cue him. And he's the guy that I would rather have at tight end in the 2nd round. It's the Rams' Terrence Ferguson. That's the guy I would rather take in the 2nd round. If I pass on Loveland or if I pass on Warren at tight end in the 1st round of the rookie draft and I get a chance to take Ferguson in the back half of the 2nd round, I feel pretty good about that. Ferguson was a day 2 pick of the Rams. They have Tyler Higbee, who is older now and coming off of a serious injury. He should theoretically be fully healthy now, but they spent day 2 capital on Ferguson. Tight ends generally have a long leash, a long learning curve, but they get the rope and opportunity to do just that, learn the position. So given the draft capital and the landing spot with Sean McVay, I'll take Ferguson in the back half of the 2nd round. I'm okay with that. I apologize. I said Warren to the Jets. Warren went to the Indianapolis Colts. My apologies there. So they still have quarterback questions in a way that the Bears do not, presumably. So again, my point stands that I would still draft Loveland over Warren. I apologize. I said Warren went to the Jets. Warren went to the Colts. Either way, both teams have quarterback questions, and I think that's where I got my wires twisted. So we see Sanders and Tyler Shaw fall to, the 3rd round. That's probably that's fair for both of those guys. Shaw went much higher than Sanders, but has a lot of question marks about him. Spent a lot of years in college. All right, where are we at here? We're officially kind of in dart throw territory. I have a guy that I have in mind here. It might be a bit of a reach, but it's hard to argue any pick at the 312 being a reach at this point. He might slide to the 4th round, but at this point in the draft, I don't have a running back. I haven't taken a running back, but I do want to walk away with a running back in a running back-rich class. Capital is low for Brashard Smith. 7th round capital. However, he went to the Kansas City Chiefs, who have availability for work in their backfield. Isaiah Pacheco is coming off a broken leg. Wasn't super effective when he did return. They brought Kareem Hunt back, who is quite old at this point. It's a pretty uninspiring Chiefs backfield, and we've seen them turn late round flyers into productive players in recent history. Isaiah Pacheco literally being Exhibit A. So I think with some fresh legs coming in and with an opportunity to be in this backfield attached to Mahomes, given the draft capital, we're not expecting the world at this point. I'll take a flyer on Smith. Where is Kyle Williams? He's way he's like way off this board, isn't he? Even though he shouldn't be. This is sleeper. Yeah, okay, all the way down at like 325. Well, Crumbly Heads, you still can draft him in the 4th round. How about that? Yeah, this is just sleeper just needs we need some more we need sleeper to make some more updates to their ADP. I don't know if Crumply Heads is gonna make his pick in time, but that's okay. Let's see. Who else went in the 3rd round? Sampson to Cleveland. He's gonna be behind Judkins. He's probably gonna work behind Jerome Ford. He's a depth play. Jaden Blue is interesting. Goes to the Cowboys. A wildly unsettled backfield there in Dallas. They have Javonte Williams. They have Miles Sanders. 2 guys who are kind of sputtering out of their NFL careers are on their last legs at this point for both of those guys. So Blue has an opportunity to carve out a role pretty quickly. He's a nice value at running back later in the draft, even though his draft capital isn't super spectacular. Giddens, he's going to be behind Jonathan Taylor for at least this year. So interesting depth, decent capital. Give me that player card. 151. Okay, that was a 5th round pick. I mean, we've seen rookie running backs in the 5th round do just fine. You're more likely to get that than like a wide receiver in the 5th round. So, and Taylor is older at this point, and he has missed some time due to injury. So you never know. Arroyo to Seattle. He's not a guy that I'm targeting. His comp is basically Noah Fant. There's the Kyle Williams pick. Nicely done. He should not fall. He should not fall that far. Obviously take advantage. Obviously take advantage of skewed ADP at this point. But he should not fall to the 4th round of your rookie drafts. I am probably walking away from this draft without a wide receiver, but that's okay. It's just a mock draft, and it's just for fun, just to see like where we stand, where we're at with things. I have a guy that I know that I'm going to grab. I don't know that he's going to last this long, all the way to the 412, but he certainly could. The much was made about what the Cincinnati Bengals were going to do in their backfield. They were in all likelihood going to add a body to help take some of the pressure off of Chase Brown, who is an electric, dynamic player, but may not be a guy that you want to give the ball to 350 times over the course of a season. May not necessarily hold up. But the Bengals waited and waited and waited to actually add to their backfield. So there's not really a guy here that is going to threaten Chase Brown. That being said, they did select Taj Brooks. Zach Moss is coming off of a neck injury. So who even knows, anytime you hear neck injury, it's fair to wonder, like, what is this guy's future? What is this guy's future at the NFL level? So I'll take Taj Brooks, and we'll wrap it up there. I guess I can just end it. I can just end this draft. There we go. All right. We can ignore that 501 selection. But there's the board. Again, Sleeper still needs to update their ADP. It is not fully updated. It is not perfect just yet. We are getting rookie drafts coming in over the past couple of days for sure. So we're getting some more accurate data. So guys like Cam Scatabo in the second round, don't do that. Don't do that. Taking Tyler Warren over Colston Loveland, don't do that. I would highly recommend not doing that. Otherwise, this is okay. Isaiah Bond is not Isaiah Bond went from being like, is he going to get drafted on day 2 to not even, he hasn't even signed a free agent deal, like a UDFA deal with anybody. So Isaiah Bond can comfortably come off of any board or any rankings that you had. He is not even on a team. Not sure what happened there, but Isaiah Bond does not currently have any NFL prospects. So there's not really a reason to draft him. Not really a reason to draft him. Let's see. First round looks pretty good. I would flip-flop the tight ends. And again, we will get more accurate data. We'll get more accurate data in ADP as more drafts take place, as more real rookie drafts take place. But this overall looks pretty good. Genty 101 tracks. Travis Hunter 102. Ballsy, but it's exactly what I would do. It's exactly what I would do. I would swing for the fences. I would swing for the upside. And I would take the guy who, if he only played wide receiver, and I know this is a big if and a big what if, but if he just played wide receiver, if he solely focused on wide receiver, he'd be the bona fide slam dunk clear-cut wide receiver 1 in this class. I think he is a more talented prospect and player than Tet McMillan. What only is holding him back is the concerns of that he's going to play on defense as well. He may not play a full complement of offensive snaps, which could limit his production game to game. And he's got increased injury concerns because he's going to be playing so many snaps on both sides of the ball. I am willing to ignore all of that and bank on the upside that we could be drafting a perennial all-pro on the football field. So if you have the 102, I am perfectly fine taking the swing on Travis Hunter. Hampton goes 103. No issues with that. That's a perfectly fine spot for him. You will see people take him at 102 over Hunter. That is risk mitigation. You want to take the safe, chalky play and the running back with the first round draft capital in a good landing spot. Fine. No real complaints, no real concerns for me. The only question is, if it's not Najee Harris, who else is he going to Hampton share that backfield with in 2026 and 2027? If he's unable to eliminate questions about his ability to handle a 3-down role week to week, season to season. Cam Ward 104 probably becomes a bit of a value at that point in Superflex drafts. The QB1, the 101 in the NFL draft off the board goes all the way to 104. He's obviously not as highly touted of a prospect of any of the quarterbacks that were drafted high last year. Ward would probably have been QB prospect 5, 6, or 7 last year. But it's not last year. It's 2025. And Ward is, at least right now, on paper, the safest quarterback option to invest in your rookie draft. So at 104 in Superflex leagues, no problem with taking him there. Tet makes a lot of sense at 105. If you don't believe in him, maybe try to look to trade out of that spot if you have the 105. But 8th overall pick in the draft goes to what looks like a good landing spot in Carolina with an ascending Bryce Young after we saw him kind of turn things around the last 10 weeks of the season last year. And now he gets a clear bona fide X receiver. The question about Tet is, how much does he dedicate himself to the game? That'll be the question. And then at this point, from like the 106 on, it's kind of dealer's choice. Henderson is pretty trendy at the 106. He's an explosive player. He can catch the ball. He goes to an ascending offense with Drake May at quarterback. And outside of an aging Stephon Diggs coming off of an injury, they don't really have a ton of consistent, reliable weapons in that offense. So it's not inconceivable to see Henderson get a lot of work in the passing game as he gets himself up to speed. Judkins should be the thumper for the Cleveland Browns, as he probably splits some work with Jerome Ford. It's not going to be a good offense in all likelihood in Cleveland. They do not have their quarterback situation settled. They have 5 quarterbacks now. I don't know if Deshaun Watson starts the year. Probably not, coming off the Achilles. But they drafted Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel. Gabriel first and then Sanders second. They also traded for Kenny Pickett and signed Joe Flacco. So who the hell knows who they're going to be starting at quarterback? It's probably not going to be a very good offense, but Judkins should get the rock. Loveland over Warren is where would be the first change here. And that's because I guess the ADP just hasn't quite updated yet to reflect that Loveland went 10th overall to a more favorable situation than Warren did. Warren will be catching the ball from either Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones. That doesn't inspire a ton of confidence. Anthony Richardson, the spotlight is squarely on him to prove that he can be a starter at the NFL level. I think he's got significantly more doubts and concerns than he does optimism around him right now. Accuracy is a major, major issue for him, and staying on the field is a major issue for him. So Warren hopefully provides a bit of a safety blanket for him, and is an upgrade, presumably, at anything else they had at tight end last year. But the onus is on Richardson to prove that he belongs as an NFL starter. If he can't do it, it'll be Daniel Jones. You don't feel much better about that situation. And I guess ultimately when it comes to Warren and any Colts pass catcher, if either one of those guys doesn't pan out, then I guess you're just hoping that the Colts are in prime position to get a blue chip quarterback prospect in the 2026 draft. And then you're just hoping for the best from there. So Loveland, in this particular draft, I would go Loveland at 108 and Warren at 111. I'm fine with everything else here. Egbuka at the 109, talented first-round wide receiver, goes to a crowded wide receiver room in Tampa Bay, but you may not have to wait that long for him to be a consistent, regular contributor. Mike Evans still there. Chris Godwin re-upped. So we're going to have to be patient with Egbuka. He's probably a guy that you cannot start day one. Of all of these first-round picks, Egbuka is not a guy that you probably want to put in your starting lineup for week one. Obviously, week one is like 5 months away, so a lot can happen between now and then. But of all the first-round picks, Egbuka is the one who is in all likelihood not in your starting lineup. Caleb Johnson might be. We'll see how the offseason shakes out for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but they like him. Mike Tomlin is on record saying, basically paraphrasing, that he's worthy of volume. He can handle a larger workload. And the Steelers what do the Steelers want to do every single year? They want to run the ball. And they also don't have a quarterback. So throwing the ball is not going to be as easy for them as it is to run. So Caleb Johnson figures to get a rock solid amount of work this year. We'll have to see how training camp and the depth chart shake out leading up to week 1. But Caleb Johnson could certainly end up in your starting lineup as soon as week 1. We maybe don't expect the world because Jaylen Warren is, has been there for multiple years and knows the system and is a vet and is a proven NFL player. So he'll probably get first crack at running back opportunities, first team opportunities. Johnson maybe mixing in as a change of pace guy, but that could change over the course of the season. Warren should be at 111, not Loveland. Loveland should be at 108. And then I took Dart. I took the other quarterback drafted in the first round. This is super flex. So, when all else fails, it's not a bad idea to just take shots at quarterback. So I grabbed Dart with the 112. He may not, again, I guess he's the other guy here who is maybe not in your starting lineup when week 1 rolls around, assuming the Giants maybe start Russell Wilson week 1 as they sort of attempt to be competitive this year. But Dart will get his opportunity sooner or later as a guy that the Giants traded up into the first round, back into the first round to select. So, it shouldn't be long before he sees the field. RJ Harvey, Matthew Golden, Luther Burn, Jaden Higgins. I like those first 4 picks to start the second round. If you have an early second round pick, you're probably feeling pretty good. You're probably feeling pretty good at the options available to you. And I would put Trey Harris in that mix as well because Cam Scatterbo is not going 205 overall. Harris, drafted by the Chargers in the second round. They have a need at outside wide receiver, somebody to help take the pressure off of Ladd McConkey. Harris figures to have an opportunity to start much sooner than later. So I'm perfectly fine with him at the 205. You got a nice little deal with him falling to 206 because the ADP hasn't quite updated yet, and Cam Scatterbo erroneously went 205. Cam Scatterbo should be a third-round pick in your rookie drafts, not a second-round pick. After being selected on day 3. Beck, I'm fine with. Good landing spot. Ends up he'll catch the ball from Geno Smith, a good quarterback, an upgrade from anything the Raiders have had at quarterback in recent years. They'd spend good capital on him in the second round, top 60 pick. And outside of Jacoby Myers, they don't really have all that much at wide receiver. So Beck should have a chance to contribute right away in a new look Raiders offense that features Geno Smith, features Ashton Jinty. They have Brock Bowers, who will soak up a ton of targets. That wide receiver, though, it's a crapshoot. I mean, Jacoby Myers is a good player, but after Jacoby Myers, it's a crapshoot. So Beck has a good chance to crack the rotation sooner than later. So good spot there. Let's see. Jalen Milroe, probably maybe more of I would maybe hope that he falls like 3 or 4 more spots beyond this. He's a developmental project in the NFL. He will work behind Sam Darnold this year. Presumably he'll get a package of plays in Seattle's offense, maybe as a runner, as a running quarterback. He is fast as hell, and that's his far and away best trait. So Seahawks may look to utilize his speed in some form of a wildcat package. So, it's fine to take a shot on him. He was a 3rd-round pick, right? Yeah, 92nd overall. That's a 3rd-round pick. So, not bad for a quarterback. Late 2nd-round pick in your rookie draft is perfectly fine. I'd probably take Jalen Noel over him. I took Terrence Ferguson. I'd probably take him over Jalen Milroe. Maybe after that, Milroe is fine. So Milroe, yeah, like in this area, the 210, 211, 212, I'm okay with taking a shot on Milroe. So he goes a little higher in this mock draft than I would be comfortable taking him, but not by much. Only by a pick or two. Only by a pick or two. Bashal Tutin, similar to Scatterbo, probably a little high. He's intriguing. He goes to a good landing spot in Jacksonville where work is very much available and up in the air. But he was a day 3 pick, so I don't know that I would invest the 209 in him. I like Jalen Noel is fine over him. even like a guy like Kyle Williams, like they put decent, they put decent capital in him. He will not last until the 4th round of your rookie draft. Yeah, the Patriots took him in the 3rd round. So Kyle Williams should probably be a back half of the 2nd round pick in your rookie draft. Like, this is the range, this 209, 210, 211 area is where I would feel comfortable taking Kyle Williams. He fell to the 406 just because Sleeper's ADP has not completely updated yet to reflect the most recent rankings that we have for these rookies. So this is the Kyle Williams range in all likelihood. Late 2nd, maybe early 3rd. These guys like Scatabo, Bashal Tootin, Jalen Blue. These are the 3rd round running backs that you want to target. And then in the 4th round, I would maybe grab like a Brashard Smith or a Taj Brooks. Those are the running backs that I'm looking at over the course of this draft. Terrence Ferguson, I grabbed at the 212. I like that spot for him. Day 2 capital to the Los Angeles Rams. They don't have a glaring hole at tight end because they're getting a healthy Tyler Higbee back this year. They didn't have him last year for most of the season, but they will have him this year. But he is older at this point. He is aging out. And with 2nd round draft capital, Ferguson is going to have a good opportunity here to learn and develop in a great system under Sean McVay. If he's able to get involved before the end of the year, he'll have Matthew Stafford throwing him the football. You feel good about that. He's not going to have any pressure on him to carry the offense with Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams on the outside at wide receiver for them. I like that landing spot for Ferguson. I like the draft capital, and I like that he gets the opportunity to work with Sean McVay. So Ferguson, especially in tight end premium, back half of the 2nd round, that I feel like it's a good landing spot for him. And I'll kind of quickly speed through these last 2 rounds, the 3rd and 4th rounds. Obviously, these are dart throws at this point. Shedeur Sanders in the 3rd round, perfectly fine. He fell to the 5th round. I think that was, we don't have to go down this rabbit hole, but I don't think Shedeur Sanders deserved to fall all the way to the 5th round of the draft. Whatever you think of him as a prospect, maybe he wasn't deserving of being a 1st round quarterback. We know that. He wasn't quite good enough to be a 1st round prospect in the draft. But he probably should have gone by the 3rd round. Why he fell to the 5th, I don't know if there were character concerns or just overall talent concerns. NFL teams have their reasons left and right all the time. Nevertheless, Sanders falls to the 5th round. I don't think that was totally deserved. I think taking him early 3rd round, taking a shot on him, especially in the quarterback room that he finds himself in Cleveland, that's anybody's game. Anybody could ascend to the starting job there. I mean, Deshaun Watson is a shell of himself, even if he can get back healthy in time for week 1, which is unlikely after a torn Achilles midway through last season. Joe Flacco is 87 years old, still doing it, still slinging it, but, he's not a team's future. They traded for Kenny Pickett. They already declined his 5th-year option. Pickett is what he is at this point, probably a journeyman career backup at the NFL level. And then they drafted Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round, who, with all due respect to Dylan Gabriel, doesn't really have that sparkling of a resume as to why he should have been drafted in the 3rd round. Like Dylan Gabriel, respectfully, has spent 7 or 8 years in college. He doesn't do any one thing great. So, is Sanders the cream of this crop? I don't know. Maybe Shedeur Sanders just flat out isn't that good. But if nothing else, he should get an opportunity in this quarterback room that is so unsettled. There's question marks about all these guys, except for maybe Flacco, I guess. You don't have question marks about Flacco at this point in his career, but that's because Flacco is, he's only probably got a year or 2 left in the NFL. So we'll see. I don't mind taking the stab on Sanders in the 3rd round. I like Jalen Blue or Jaden Blue. I keep saying Jalen. I like Jaden Blue. Good landing spot in Dallas. Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders. I mean, these guys are probably on their last legs in the NFL. We know at this point running back careers don't last very long. Sanders has fallen off since his time with the Eagles. His time with the Carolina Panthers went horrifically. He'll try to resurrect himself somewhat in Dallas. Javonte Williams, super promising not too long ago, suffered a major knee injury. Hasn't really been the same since then. He gets another opportunity in Dallas. You could call him a draft day winner, I guess, just because of the lack of capital the Cowboys invested in their running back room. But, I mean, how long before we keep plotting to 3-yard runs and the occasional 4-yard run from Javonte Williams before the Cowboys say, screw it, let's see what we have in the rookie. So I like Jaden Blue. Harold Fannin at tight end in tight end premium is fine. He's going to work behind David Njoku for at least this year. David Njoku is a free agent after this season, so whether Cleveland re-ups with him or not remains to be seen. They probably should. He's a good player, David Njoku is. And you would think that whenever they decide who their quarterback is, they're going to want to give him some options, some weapons to work with. They have a lot of question marks at wide receiver, so you might as well hang on to David Njoku. But in the event that they don't retain him, Harold Fannin has an opportunity. So don't mind him as a late 3rd round pick. I took a shot on guys like Brashard Smith and Taj Brooks, super late round picks, but to backfields that do have some opportunity available in Kansas City and Cincinnati. So decent options. Kyle Williams in the 4th round. That's not going to last. He's a late 2nd round pick after the Patriots took him in the 3rd round. They have a lot of question marks at wide receiver. They brought in Stephon Diggs, older, coming off of a torn ACL. So we'll see what he can bring to the table. Outside of that, Demario Douglas is an okay player. They drafted Jalen Polk in the 2nd round last year. Okay. Kyle Williams has an opportunity here. Given the draft capital, Drake May in year 2, he should be a late 2nd round pick. So I like that. I like that pick in the 4th round. He's not going to last until the 4th round, though. Everybody else here is a dart throw. Don't take Isaiah Bond. That was a CPU auto pick. He doesn't even have a team. You can make an argument that Ollie Gordon, just a couple of years ago, put up a stellar season. He was not good in the slightest last year, but Miami is probably looking for a thumper next to Devon Achane, so maybe Gordon gets a chance to compete with Jalen Wright for that opportunity because they let Raheem Mostert walk. Dart throw, though. Big-time dart throw. None of these other quarterbacks are must-haves. Dylan Gabriel, again, the Browns spent decent capital on him, but I genuinely don't know why. I'm not going out of my way to grab Dylan Gabriel. I'm not going out of my way to grab Will Howard, even though he did end up in a spot where it's like, who the hell is going to be the quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Is Aaron Rodgers going to come around and sign there? Are they going to rock with Mason Rudolph? I mean, are they going to let Will Howard just, let's say, screw it and see what the rookie can do? But then I can't imagine the Steelers do that. They're a team that year in, year out, they go for it for better or worse. They look to compete regardless of what the roster makeup is. So I can't imagine Howard plays meaningful snaps this year. Mop-up duty, maybe. But that's going to be about it. And then Quinn Ewers behind Tua. I mean, whatever. Shedeur does take a lot of sacks. That's fair. He hangs on to the ball a lot. He was credited with a lot of sacks that were his fault, not the offensive line's fault. So, he's not if he was a perfect prospect, he would have been a first-round pick, but he's not. He's got a lot of question marks around him. Is he an NFL caliber player? Basically, that's what the 5th round says. About your draft capital. Maybe you'll get an opportunity, maybe you won't. But given the quarterback options in this year's rookie class, I would probably feel a little safer about Sanders than some of these other guys. Like Tyler Shaw. I mean, how many season-ending injuries did he have? How many years did he spend in college? I just don't know how confident we can be in a guy like that. Especially, I mean, he'll have his opportunity in New Orleans. He may start the entire year. But that doesn't make me excited about him. That to me spells New Orleans is like looking to 2026 to try to get the 101 and whatever whether it's Arch Manning, if he comes out. I think that's what the Saints are looking to, because they probably have the worst quarterback room in the NFL right now. Derek Carr's shoulder is apparently hanging on by a thread. They've got Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener, who inspired no confidence last year, neither one of them. They didn't have a good situation to work with, but it's not going to be that much better this year. So, I mean, Kellen Moore comes in as the new head coach, offensive mind, maybe installs a better system, a more quarterback-friendly system. So whoever's playing quarterback for the Saints maybe has a little bit of easier time in his system. But, I mean, they've got offensive line questions. Chris Olave has serious health questions. Will any one of these quarterbacks be able to push the ball downfield to Rashid Shaheed? They have Jawan Johnson, good tight end. But there's a lot of question marks with this offense, so not crazy about Shaw. I guess Jalen Milroe, late second, is interesting, but he's got a lot of question marks about, his longevity as a quarterback in the NFL. He should get some wildcat opportunities, but if we're just relying on wildcat packages, there's only so much upside that a guy has there. Not the strongest year for quarterbacks. Decent running backs, a few nice options at tight end. Ferguson being the value, in my opinion. If you miss on Loveland or Warren in the first round and you have a late second round pick, I like Ferguson. Taylor with the Jets has an opportunity. They have nothing at tight end, so at least he has a chance. And they spent good draft capital on him. Big time need for New York. It's just, we'll see. Justin Fields still has a lot of questions as a thrower of the football. It could just be, lock in on Garrett Wilson and everybody else is kind of just left to pick up the crumbs of whatever is left of probably a low volume passing attack in New York this year. I think that about covers it. I would take Kyle Williams over Taj Brooks or any of these other dart throw running backs. 3rd round draft capital. Brooks was a 5th round pick, 6th round pick by Cincinnati. So he's going to have to prove that he can carve out some of Chase Brown's workload. No small task. Whereas Kyle Williams was taken 3 rounds higher, and it's basically open competition behind Stephon Diggs for who's going to see playing time for the Patriots receivers. So Kyle Williams over those dart throw running backs. They're 4th round guys. Kyle Williams is a late in your rookie draft. Taj Brooks, Rashard Smith, Ollie Gordon. These guys are 4th round picks in your draft. Kyle Williams should be a late 2nd round pick. So I'll take Kyle Williams over those running back dart throws. And as far as is it worth trading up to the 102 for Travis, It depends on what you have. That's where the questions really start to rise. Like if you already just have the pick, if you have the 102 or the 103 or even the 104, depending on Travis Hunter could slip to the 106 or 107 depending on your league mates and how confident they are in his future outlook. If you already have the pick, then great. It's a little scarier when you're, again, with all of the risk and concerns about him, where you're trading up assets to move up to acquire him. So, like, what's the cost going to be? How much capital do you have to move up? Are you going to have to include a 2026 first, a 2027 first to package up to get him? Now it's like, okay, I don't know if I necessarily want to take that swing. So it depends on the package of whatever, and players as well. Depends on what you have. It depends on what you have that you can that you can offer. Like, do you have the 110 or the 111 in this year's draft, and maybe maybe a couple of second round picks, and you could offer the 110 and a couple seconds for the 103? Like if you have the 110 and say the 202 or 203, and then maybe like the 208 or 209, like that should in theory be enough to get a deal done to move up. If you have somebody there who is not confident in Travis Hunter, misses on Amari and Hampton, and doesn't know what to do with their 103, you offer the 110 and a couple second round picks. That should be a strong enough package to move up, and then you could take Travis Hunter. I'd be okay with that. Multiple firsts is a little bit of a tougher sell, unless you've got a bunch of them. If you're in a rebuild and you've accumulated a lot of first round picks and you're willing to move, one this year and one next year, maybe with another second round pick in the mix if it's a high offer, and you're willing to pull the trigger. Okay, fine. If you've got other first round picks to hang your hat on over the next couple of years, that's fine, because you're taking a shot on a blue chip prospect that has a chance to kind of rewrite the record books if all goes well for Travis Hunter. Depends on what you have to offer. Okay. I think that about does it for today. If anybody else has any other questions in these last couple minutes, I'm happy to take them. If not, thanks to those who joined the rookie draft. We are obviously still waiting on data to update on Sleeper's end as far as the most recent ADP. Again, guys like Cam Scatabo and Bashal Tutin should not be going in the second round, and guys like Kyle Williams should not be falling to the fourth round. And Tyler Warren should not be, at this point, drafted over Colston Loveland, since Colston Loveland was drafted first in the NFL draft. So still some things to work out. Real rookie drafts taking place will correct this ADP over the coming days. I will come back on Thursday. Actually, I have one of my rookie drafts on Thursday. Maybe I will mock it. I have the 108 and the 308. I don't have a second round pick, or not mock it. Maybe I'll live stream it. Maybe I'll live stream my rookie draft on Thursday, because I just have the 108. I don't intend on being super active in the way of like negotiations and phone calls. If I was, then I probably wouldn't live stream. I would probably just share what happened after the fact. But I like my spot at 108. I feel good at, with the player that I'm going to get the opportunity to add at 108. So I'm probably going to stay put and just make that pick. So maybe I'll live stream for that on Thursday. It would be a little later. It's at 8:30 East. So I could look into live streaming that on Thursday if anybody was interested. So could be back on Thursday with a real rookie draft that I will be taking part in. But I think that'll do it for me today. Appreciate everybody coming in and hanging out. Thanks for the engagement. Thanks for the time. I'll look throughout this stream, see if there's any highlights that are worth splicing up for individual videos, and we'll make sure to add those on to the channel. But until then, I will see you guys back here on Thursday. I think I'll go ahead and live stream my rookie draft. And you guys can see a real draft play out in real time with real analysis. I'll have to make some tweaks real time. You guys can see how I structure the pick time breakdown in that draft, because I do allow more time to make your first round pick, and then I adjust the timer for the second, third, and fourth rounds. So if you are willing to bear with me as I make real-time updates and changes, you can see a real rookie draft unfold and take shape. So that'll be 8:30 East on Thursday. I'll pull up a stream for that, and I will see you guys then. Thanks everybody for coming in, hanging out, and have a good rest of your evening. Thanks everybody.